Hello, scholars. It is great to be with you this week. Now, we have something very, very special today, and I'm really, really excited. We are going to be joining in with an interview that I had with my friend Dave Brunelle. He is a professional guitar player, and he does lots of really cool stuff. If after the interview you have some thoughts or you would just like to express your appreciation to Dave for joining us, I'm going to have a Google form that you can fill out, and you can send any message for Dave to me and I'll make sure it gets to him. Without any further ado, I hope you all enjoy today's conversation and that you get a lot out of the music he plays. It's really, really, really fun, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. Let's get to it. Okay, scholars, here I am with Dave Brunelle, a good friend of mine who is an amazing guitarist. And Dave, thank you so much for being here, man.
Thanks for having me, Steven. It's good to see you, man.
Good to see you too. So you are a professional guitarist, amongst many other things that you also do. So tell me a little bit about what that means day to day, like all the normal stuff. Do you have an outfit that you have to wear? Do you have a daily schedule? Like, what's the deal?
Yeah, well, the interesting thing about being a professional guitar player is that every day, every week, every month is totally different. You never kind of have the same day twice because there's always different gigs happening at different times. And, as all of you students have experienced, we're in a quarantine season right now where there's not a lot of events happening outdoors. And so a lot of things that I have been doing for the past 13 years have changed a lot since March. And so right now, all of my work in music is pretty much all done from home. So I'm, recording songs for people, or I'm writing sheet music for people, or I'm creating arrangements for people, or I'm teaching lessons over Zoom. That's kind of been the mixture of things I've been doing for work in the last several months. And then before COVID, I was, touring and playing live gigs and just doing kind of a lot of things I'm doing at home now, just with other people in the room. So
Got it.
Yeah.
Very cool. Now, in terms of guitar, I see that you have an electric guitar in front of you. Do you play electric and acoustic guitar?
I do, yeah, electric and acoustic. Yep.
Okay.
They're essentially the same instrument, so you can kind of switch back and forth pretty easily.
Cool. In regards to the guitar, if I had never seen a guitar before and I wanted to know how it worked, basically, what are some of the things that you might tell us about how your guitar works?
Yeah, so the sound of the guitar comes first from the strings. There's 6 strings on this guitar right here. I'll try and get as close as I can to the camera. There's
Cool.
6 strings.
Okay.
And each of those 6 strings has a specific sound. And so what happens is you have this thing called a pick. It's like a piece of plastic that you just kind of hold in your hand, and you basically just strum the strings either one at a time like this, or you can play them all at the same time like this. Now, what happens with the guitar, with an electric guitar, is when you actually, strum the strings, what happens is the sound from each of the individual string goes into these things right here called pickups. I have 2 of them on my guitar. These little like metal looking things. And then there's a bunch of wires that are inside the guitar that kind of take the information and they send it out through this input jack right here. So right where this cable is right here, that's where the sound goes. And then this goes into my amplifier, and that's what produces the sound.
So as a professional guitarist, there are these couple of different things you mentioned about your day-to-day, whether it's making sheet music or recording or whatnot. Are there any other things that you do in order to make sure that you maintain being a good guitar player, or all the different skills that you need?
That's a great question. So the first thing I'll mention that I do almost every day is practice. And practicing is a really important part of maintaining your skill set. As a professional guitar player, I get asked to do a lot of different types of jobs. Some jobs I'm more of a rock guitar player. Some jobs I'm more of a jazz guitar player. Some jobs I'm more of a funk guitar player, or I'm a blues guitar player, or I'm a mixture of all of them kind of at the same time.
Can we do a little fun little experiment where you mentioned 4 specific genres right there?
Yeah.
Could you play maybe 10 seconds of what you mean by rock and roll?
Yeah, so this is a classic rock and roll song. Some of you guys might know it. This is a
Love
uh,
that.
yeah, so it's a Guns N' Roses song called "Sweet Child of Mine." I played it on many top 40 cover gigs. It's a really popular song. It's a good one to know if you're a guitar player. And then if someone says, "Can you play something bluesy?"
Mhm.
For this, I might play something like this.
Mm, yes,
So
yes.
that's a passage from a Stevie Ray Vaughan song. Stevie Ray Vaughan's a really popular blues guitar player, really important guy for guitar players to have studied. What else did I mention? Was it rock, blues, and what else? Other stuff?
Jazz.
Jazz, yeah. So yeah, let's see.
Mm.
Something like that.
Yeah. And then the last one was funk.
Funk, yeah. Funk is one of my favorite genres to play. I love playing anything funky. So this is actually from a Earth, Wind, and Fire song called September, and it's kind of a funk pop song. But this is like the main guitar riff from that song.
Oof, what a jam. That song is always such a jam.
It's a great song,
Love
great
it.
tune.
So good. Well, thank you for doing that little musical roulette, I guess. That was super fun. Were there any other things that you happen to do sort of day to day?
Yeah, I listen to music a lot. Listening is a really important part of growing as a musician. As you guys, as you know, I'm talking to students now. As you guys kind of grow up and you take, more advanced classes, one of the classes you'll take, when you start doing music theory, will be an ear training class. In your ear training classes, they're going to teach you how to listen to sounds and interpret them. And that's a really important part of how you grow as a musician because the way that pretty much all musicians learn is we listen to somebody else do something and then we spend lots of time studying it and imitating it, and then over time what develops is our own individual artistic voices. Our own personality comes out of that. If Stevie Ray Vaughan plays it this way and John Mayer plays it this way, and if Brian May plays it this way, what's the way that Dave Brunelle plays it? What's something that I can do that would be unique to what my voice is? And a lot of that comes through just listening and listening and listening and listening to all different kinds of music.
Absolutely. So would you say, following that train of thought, I imagine that one of the pieces of advice you would give to younger students like mine might be that they should just listen to as many different things as possible and
Absolutely.
yeah, cool.
Yeah, I would say listening to as many genres as you can is just a great way to learn, and listen to things that maybe don't always include the instrument that you play. But just because there isn't guitar on something doesn't mean that I can't learn from a keyboard player or from a drummer or from a saxophone player or from a vocalist. I actually spend a lot of time listening to how vocalists sing, and I try my best to take those vocal melodies that I'm listening to that I find so cool and so interesting, and then put them on the guitar. So I'll listen to what's being sung and then I'll try and translate it on my instrument.
I imagine that might be a weird thing to sort of just pull out and try right now, but is there like an example of what something that you might be
Yeah.
referring to? I don't know.
Well, what I can do is maybe just play a couple of songs that I'm pretty sure the kids will know, and
Okay.
what I can do is play a couple of them and just explain to them kind of how I'm able to translate it. So
That's cool.
this is really off the cuff, so let's see what happens.
Love it.
So it's like a classic nursery rhyme. I'm sure you guys have all heard it before.
Mm-hmm.
But that's so, I spent a lot of time teaching my ears how to interpret sound. And so what I did just now is I recalled that melody I've heard so many times from my childhood and just kind of threw it on the guitar and added a couple of chord changes that I'm familiar with. And that's kind of how I constructed that right now. Let's see if I can do another one off the cuff. So. Uh, couple mistakes in there. You guys could hear my ears missed a couple things, but I was able to find it. That's why it's really important to train your ears, kids, so you don't make mistakes like that.
Exactly. Oh, that was really fun. So what's one of your favorite, this is a big question, but what's one
Okay.
of your favorite things about being a guitarist and being a musician for a living?
My favorite part about being a guitar player and being a musician for a living is performing. That's my favorite thing to do in the whole world. Um, Actually, Steven has been gracious enough to play keyboard with me in a couple of situations where I've been playing live and needed a keyboard player to help me out. And he's been a part of my band a few times. And he can tell you this, when I perform, I'm really, really big on stage. I like to jump around and I get really sweaty and I make all the crazy faces, and I might jump off the drum set at some point or do a jump kick or, I do a lot of different things when I'm on stage, but performing is just my favorite thing to do. I love being able to use my guitar and use all the hours I've spent practicing to connect with people in the audience. And that's really what performance has always been about for me is when I play the guitar, can I connect to the person sitting there, and can I connect to the person sitting there? Maybe something I play will help them think differently about their life, or maybe it'll help them overcome challenges they're facing, or maybe it'll help them feel good, or maybe it'll help them with whatever they're facing. But I think music can be a really, really special healing place for a lot of people, and I love using live performance to do that.
I love that. Do you have like a favorite place that you've played, or a favorite performance or concert, a favorite gig? I don't know. Are there any special moments that come up for you when you talk about that stuff?
Yeah. So back in 2018, I got this really, really cool touring gig with this really famous pop star in China, actually, of all places. And so I went and toured in China and all around Asia. I played in China and, Singapore and Hong Kong and a bunch of other countries around there for about 6 months. And the crowds were like, 10, 15,000 people. And it was amazing. And there was a particular show we played in Singapore at the indoor stadium they have there. And I think we played 4 nights in a row. And yeah, it was amazing. It was awesome. But there was one particular night where there was a guest artist that was being featured with our band. He came in and he played a couple of songs with us, and he was a famous artist in China. His name is David Foster. He's actually a Canadian producer who's a big part of American music. He's worked with Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston and people like that. But he also happens to be pretty famous in Asia. And so he came along for one night on the tour and he played with us. And David Foster asked me to be a featured soloist on one of his songs. And so we played through one of his songs from like a TV show that he had written for. And I played the solo, and thankfully there were a couple people in the crowd that caught camera footage of me playing it and sent it to me. I got a chance to listen to it. But that was a really, really cool moment. It was exhilarating and definitely a dream come true.
That is really, really cool. And to be playing with like people of that caliber, I bet was just like unreal.
It was terrifying.
Oh, that's funny. So do you have any advice maybe that you would give to my first, second, third, fourth, and fifth graders if they really like music or if they really think guitar is cool? Or anything like that? Do you have any advice that you would give to them, maybe?
Yeah. My best advice to anyone who wants to be a musician, whether it's just for fun, to play with your friends in a band, or to do what I'm doing, which is playing professionally as a job and getting paid to do it, be yourself. It's really interesting because when you're learning music, you spend so much time studying other people. And what can happen in that process is you can kind of lose track of who you are, and you can maybe feel this pressure or this need to sound exactly like somebody else, and that can actually influence how you view yourself as a person. But I want to encourage you guys and gals to think about the person that you are and the kind of musician that you want to be, and try to put your effort into becoming that, because there's a lot of different types of jobs in the music industry, and each job requires different types of personalities and different types of people, and you don't have to be a certain way to work. You can be a producer, you can be a songwriter, you can be a touring musician, you can play top 40 gigs in town, you can play for an original band, you can write orchestrations for people, you can write movie scores, you can write for television. There's a whole bunch of different things you can do, and they're all designed for different types of people. So don't feel pressure to be someone that you're not. Be who you want to be who you think you are as a person, and invest your time into that, as well as listening to great musicians and learning from them. Because the whole point of listening to great musicians isn't to become like them, it's to become a better version of yourself. It's to learn from them and then enhance who you are as a person.
That is some good wisdom. Drop the mic after that one. That's good, Dave. Thank you.
My other big piece of advice for any musician is to have an open mind. I spent a lot of my younger years just not liking a lot of music, mainly because I didn't understand it, not because I didn't like the way it sounded. Sometimes if your friends say things like, oh, I don't like rap because of this, or I don't like country because of this, or I don't like hip hop because of this, or I don't like metal because of that. And what can happen is those conversations can influence you to like start developing these negative feelings towards musicians or artists who were in that genre, and you just think, oh, it's country, so it's not good, or it's rock and roll, so it's about this or it's about that. But I want to encourage all of you kids to just have an open mind, because once I became an adult and I started to have my ears and my mind opened up to different genres of music that I didn't grow up in, I got exposed to jazz for the first time in college, and I got exposed to a lot of pop music for the first time in college. I got exposed to Stevie Wonder and Marvin Gaye and these artists that I didn't really know much about and didn't really understand why people loved them so much. Even the Beatles, those were all groups that I kind of discovered for the first time in my adult life in school. And man, listening to those records over and over again, that I had never heard before. It's really helped me understand that music is it's a really big, wide space, and there's room for really everybody to be a part of it. And so don't be exclusive. Don't push people away. Don't rule out genres. Don't look at an artist and think down on them. Try your best to see people as human beings and to understand where they're coming from, instead of just writing people off or writing off their music because of this or that. Yeah, have an open mind. Listen to all different kinds of music. Listen to as many different things as you can.
Thank you for that, Dave. Well, is there anything else? Would you like to play us off with something? And I don't know. I'm game for whatever you feel led to play right now, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, let me see.
Yes, yes. Oh, that was fun.
I don't even know what that was.
It was really fun. That was great. I loved it. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Great.
All right, man. Well, it's good to see you, dude. Thanks for touching base.
You too. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for doing this. And I hope that you stay safe and healthy, and same with Chelsea and the rest of your family and whatnot. So
thanks, man. Likewise. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, have a good rest of your day. See you later.
Thanks, man. All right. Talk to you soon.
Bye, Dave.